Good evening. Yes, it'll be echoey in here because again, I only have certain time to film these wonderful videos. I've already written about this, but I have two completely different markets between my blog and between my YouTube subscribership or readership or viewership. If you want, you can look up the article, but to get this out there, because my viewership on YouTube is much younger than my readership on the blog, this is more pertinent to your age, so I decided to put together a video just to make sure this got out here. And this is why you kids, and by kids I mean younger people, 30 and under, 40 and under, younger people in general should not be saving for retirement. First is the problem of feasibility. I face this problem, and probably a lot more of you guys, especially recent college graduates, are facing this problem. Because whereas on one hand you were told you got to save for retirement, you have to have your 401k, you have to have your IRA, you got to save, invest, and put on automatic bill pay, but without a job or with a very low paying job and with student debts, you don't have the disposable income to be socking away for an investment. So the number one thing I want to tell you kids, and what I tell myself, knowing what I know now to go back 10, 15 years, is not only don't invest for retirement, don't save for retirement, but please let go of the guilt. Forgive yourself for not doing it, because there's always that thing, you should. I'm telling you now, you shouldn't, okay? So it's because, and the primary reason is because you can't. There's no reason to, if you're getting by on ramen noodles and you can barely afford rent, you're only going to ruin your life today for something that you'll find out is not going to be quite that sure in the future. So get rid of the guilt. Don't, live your life. If you need food, buy food. If you need to pay for rent, pay for rent. If you need to buy health insurance or get a car, get those things. The retirement planning can definitely be put off later. So one is the issue of feasibility. Two, and this is why you wouldn't want to invest even if you did have the money, two main reasons. One, there's a retirement bubble occurring. If you want, you can look up when you abandon fundamental value. It's more of the statistics and the data. But basically, it asks the question, oh, wait a minute, okay, before 1978, when the 401k was made, how did people retire? Well, most people retired by a pension, or they saved up enough cattle, or they had a house, or whatever. They had a wide array of investments that they used to retire. Hell, most people until recently didn't retire. You worked till you were dead. So retirement is a whole new concept, and beforehand wasn't for the majority of people. You just worked till you're dead and that was it. Or you couldn't work no more and then your family took care of you. Well, the federal government came up with the 401k in 1978, not to mention a whole bunch of other things like 403bs, 457s, IRAs, set plans, all this other stuff. And by default, they said, okay, well, you can invest your money in these stocks and bonds through these programs. Or you can invest in mutual funds, which are nothing more than stocks and bonds. So in doing that, what the federal government did is officially ordained the stock market as the primary retirement vehicle for all Americans. Well, what that has done is essentially flooded the stock market with trillions of dollars worth of retirement money. And people have been investing in these stocks and bonds and mutual funds, not for anything as wise as, PE ratios or dividends or earnings growth rates and things like that. They just do it because that's what they were told to do. Heck, you get a tax benefit. So what's ended up happening is you've created this massive bubble. And it's a bubble, I hate to say, I think it's going to be bigger than the housing bubble. It may not come crashing down quite as quick, but the question then becomes this. Okay, all the baby boomers who've been making all the money for the past 40 years, they've thrown trillions of dollars into the retirement market. What will happen when they start pulling out? Well, that's going to put downward pressure on prices. Now, this isn't to say the stock market's going to go down. If you have hyperinflation, stock prices will actually go up. But in terms of real rates of return, your stock market is going to go down. At least there's going to be downward pressure on it. The problem this faces for Gen X and Gen Y millennials, those of us few who actually have the money to invest, is you're buying into an inflated market. And based on what's called a PE ratio, I won't go into the details, the PE ratio of the S&P 500 is about 23, 24 today. Historically, it trades at 15. That implies roughly a 30, 40% overvaluation. So it would be like buying gas today for $4 a gallon, or I'm trying to think, like a Big Mac meal. I don't know, I think they're like $5 today, so 40% point 4 to, that'd be like paying $7 for a Big Mac meal. So you can see how overvalued the market is. The other thing that you get to worry about is we have what's called unfunded benefit obligations. And that's just long-term speak for, we promised everybody a bunch of entitlement spending programs for like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, welfare, whatever else, pensions, state, federal employees, and we haven't got any tax revenue projected or earmarked for it. In other words, it's not funded yet. So taxes would have to go up. Well, by how much? It depends on whose estimates you want to use, but anywhere between $50 and $75 trillion. Now, the federal government is already pretty much pushing the upper limits in terms of taxation of what it can do before it starts running to Laffer curve problems. If you want, you can look that up. Laffer. So you can only bleed so much blood out of a turnip. So they're going to have to find other sources of financing. Well, looky here, lookity now. Look at all those 401ks and IRA plans that have trillions of dollars stored up in them. And there's an increasing chance that the federal government will confiscate that, or at least rescind the tax benefits of it. And people call, this is where, you're just a crazy conspiracy neocon or whatever con, and you don't know what you're talking about. The government would never do that. Well, they did it in Argentina, they did it in Bolivia. I mean, a couple years ago, they did a variation of it in Hungary, Bulgaria, and Poland. So this is happening, and I know it's not the United States, but it has happened, and it's happened recently, and our problems are akin, if not even worse or more severe than those countries' problems. So what you want to avoid is, like, you slave away, you sock away all that money, and then it's only nationalized or confiscated and then put in some kind of national pension scheme. It's basically the government taking the money now, filling up the holes today, and then saying, well, we'll tax people later tomorrow to pay for it. They're just stealing your money, and they're going to promise you some government payment or an annuity in the future. So for you young kids, hell, I'd say anyone under 45, it's really risky. It's a really risky bet to be saving for retirement in these 401k, IRA, government-ordained accounts. And even if you're not investing in a 401k, IRA, 403b, you got to worry about your brokerage accounts, or hell, just your bank accounts. Because if the government wants to, it can confiscate those because it's in the U.S. banking system. So if you're going to do any investing until it looks like the federal government gets its fucking shit together and they actually balance the budget, hell, I don't care one way or the other, taxation or spending, until it shows that there's going to be a balanced budget and that there's not going to be a need down the road to confiscate people's assets. The only investing I would be doing is, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but skills and education, because they can't tax that. And it'll be in my book later on, Enjoy the Decline, but you want to read that part of it. And then, physical investments like some gold or some silver, some guns and some bullets. Especially for the young kids out there, forgive yourselves, get rid of the guilt. You don't want to be investing now. You do not. It is too risky. There's too many things going against you. It's too pricey. It's overvalued. If I could make my life easier, which I can't because I've already lived it, hopefully I can make yours easier. So go to sleep at night. You know what? Buy yourself a beer. Go get yourself a beer. And don't worry about it, because at least you'll get the utility out of that. When you drink that beer, the government can't confiscate that later. Toodles.